All right. Well, thank you all for those of you who have remained behind. And maybe a little bit of what we're going to do just before we get started. I'd like to know where I'm going. So the first session that we're going to do together, I want us to workshop some things more so than anything else. All right? I want us to just workshop and have a look at the opportunities that exist for us in the, first of all, the church website space. And then after we have something to eat together, look at the social media opportunities and the things that we can do there. First of all, let me just give you a little bit of my background. So currently I have been given the task within South Australia to lead the digital media space, and our vision for South Australia is to reach all of South Australia through media, particularly digital media. Pretty ambitious? That is our goal. We want to be able to reach all of South Australia through media, particularly digital media. Ambitious, yes, but certainly possible. Possible only if we have willing participants. It's not something that we could do without the help of others. And you're going to see as we go through why we need other people to be involved in this work. It's simply not possible for me to spend, even if I spend all of my days in my office behind my computer, which I already do until ridiculous hours of the night, just ask my wife, it still wouldn't be enough. Even if I was to double myself even, I still couldn't do enough if I was doing it on my own. Now, that's not to say that it can't be done, nor that you need to spend the time that I spend, but if we had a team of people in each church that was doing something, I do believe that the opportunity exists. And I can tell you I'm going to share with you a few case studies. One in particular, I'll share with you two, of just some of the things that we've done thus far. One was a project that I'd done myself. Another one is a church that I'm working with in Western Australia. And I want to just take you through and show you what that looks like, what we've done there, and what the opportunity is here for us in Vista Church. My current role for South Australia, as I said, so I'm working in the digital media space. So I was pastoring, but I was a Bible worker who was working as a pastor. Employed as a Bible worker, but I was pastoring two churches for 7 or 8 years. I was just called into ministry. I started off as a Bible worker. I just had a passion to share Christ. And I'll share with you maybe another time my testimony, but I just come from the world, right? And I just came into the Adventist church. When I first came into the church, I knew nothing but Daniel 2. Like seriously, it was the first thing that I actually got out of prison. I come home from prison. My mum brought me around. I told her that I was going to become a Christian. She was already an Adventist. She brought me around a stack of Doug Batchelor, and all of the different Bible studies and all these sorts of things. She gave them to me. I watched the first DVD of one of Doug Batchelor's series, and of course it was on Daniel 2. I watched that and I thought, what? How is that possible? How is it possible that this book could foretell thousands of years of Earth's history, even to this very day? You look at World War II and the attempts of World War I, World War II, Saddam Hussein, all the attempts to reunite Europe, and no one succeeded because the Bible said so. It would never again cleave one to another. And I read that and I was like, man, this has to be rigged. Someone's wrote this like recently, right? And I started digging. I got on the internet and I started searching, and I was searching for something to try and prove to myself that Daniel 2 wasn't written thousands of years ago. I come across the Dead Sea Scrolls, and large portions of the book of Daniel 2 are kept intact. The prophetic portions, large prophetic portions of that book are kept intact. I started going from house to house telling people about it. I was like, man, you're going to hear this stuff. This is incredible. And continued on and, became a Bible worker and so on. One thing I realized when I was Bible working was that the most I could probably deal with about 15 different Bible studies a week. That'd be pushing it, right? Would you agree? 15? Yeah? If you're doing 15 Bible studies a week, man, you're at capacity, right? So I was called down here to pastoral ministry, and I spent the first year doing ministry down here full time, and I lost the passion, right? Because now I was employed to do ministry, and I'd get up every morning and I was thinking to myself, okay, what am I going to do my hours this week? And I'd never thought that before. I did ministry as a volunteer for 2 years before that, and I just got up and did ministry every day because I wanted to. And now I'm like, okay, I've got to do my hours today. What am I going to do to get my hours done? right? And I decided at that point that I wanted to go back to part-time ministry, and I would go and start a business and work for myself part-time, so that way I could, I was more, in reality, I was still doing it. I didn't reduce my workload any for the church. I just reduced the pay rate, so that now I didn't feel that I had to do 40 hours a week. I just had to do 20, and I was doing probably 50, right? But now I no longer ever thought about what am I doing to count to do my hours this week, and then I'd do one job a month or so just to get some extra money coming in and to pay the bills, right? Well, as I started my own business, I started an import-export business. I was importing commercial flooring, and I was initially started and I was doing Google Ads, and I was running Google Ads to try and drum up business, and it meant that every time I got an inquiry, I had to go and chase that inquiry and close that inquiry to a sale because I paid for it. Right? And I thought, man, this is there's got to be a better way to do this. I don't want to be chasing those sales. So then I got into search engine optimization, which is the work where you get your website to the front of Google, but you don't pay them to do it. And it took me a few years to work it out, but I got to the point that I can consistently get a page to the front of Google, right? And no sooner than I got my business there, I'm thinking, what are we doing as a church? Where are we? And I made it my mission to get online and to go and first of all try and get our church to the front of Google. Or at least, as a Bible worker at that point in my life, or that was my passion at least, I wanted to make sure that when people search for Bible study in Australia, we come up first, right? Or we're one of the top ones that come up. If you go to the second window there, second one, yep, there you go. See the second one down. So Bible Study Tools, I'm sure you've seen that website before, massive international website. The next one down is Bible Study Australia, and you can see the Hope Channel logo there. So that started off as a personal project that I built because I wanted to get us to that point where we were coming up first all around the country if people search for Bible study. If you go to the next one there for a second. So this was a website. It never looked like this when I first built it. When I first built it, it wasn't under Hope Channel. Once I got it to the front of, it's funny story. I'm being recorded. That's all right. Wayne, a great guy at Adventist Media. I'd been knocking on the door at Adventist Media. When I first got my business to the front of Google, I'm like, man, what are we doing as a church? Who's responsible for this stuff as a church? Adventist Media, right. Got on the phone, emails. Hey, what are we doing? Why aren't we here? What's the block? I won't tell you the events that transpired after that because it's being recorded. But that was in 2018. In 2021, I had the Bible study website to the front of Google. It was 2022, I think. I got the Bible study website to the front of Google, and I got invited across to the Digital Discipleship Conference to speak about artificial intelligence. That was just the sort of interest of mine at the time. And I was on the stage for 3 minutes, paid for my flights and my hotel and all. I'm thinking, man, this is 3 minutes. I wish I could earn that sort of money, right? And then they offered me a job. So then the Bible study website went from being a personal project to an Adventist media project. And that was where I wanted it to be, right? Like I felt that it could have been a South Australian project. Kay was happy to pay for my time and the money that I'd put into it to get it to where it was back when she was in her role. But I didn't feel that it was to be a South Australian project. It belongs at as a national project. And it is all around the country. If you search up Bible study, we get hundreds of people. If you go to the next one. So you can see there in, 3 months, we've had 1,300 people through the website. 46,000 people have seen it when they've searched for Bible study or related terms online. And we get all sorts of people signing up. When you go through the registration process, we ask what denomination you are, what your interests are. So if people if people are searching for a church to join, if people are searching for a Bible study, they tick that box when they're registering. And then if they tick that box, it opens up and says, can you give us your phone number? And then we pass those leads on to the local church. And we've actually got a number of people now that are in churches because of the work here. Now, I say all this because Andrew, 15, 16 Bible studies a week. Here we've got thousands of people on there at a time, right? The opportunity that exists here, for one person, you can do so much more if you commit in this space. Now, it's not to replace the physical work, the in-person Bible studies, But the opportunities that exist here really are unreal. Then I started thinking about our local churches and how we can do this for our local churches. And one of the big questions that I had, obviously these days we live in a world, I don't know if you're yet aware, but every time you search for something online, all of that data is captured, right? And Google then sells that data back to businesses or people who want to then advertise before people who are searching for whatever it is that they're searching for. So we can access all of that data and we can do what's called keyword research to find what are the keywords that people are using when they're searching for a particular thing. And then we can create content excuse me, that targets those things that people are actually searching for, right? So I then later on, I read this book by a guy by the name of Thomas S. Rain. And it wasn't a book on digital media or any of that kind of stuff. It's just a book called Becoming a Welcoming Church. Not an Adventist guy, just a well-known book that was highly recommended by Pastor Joel Slade when he was pastoring here. And it's called Becoming a Welcoming Church. So I got this book and I read through it. And as I went through it, Thomas S. Rain, he comes to this incredible conclusion. He goes round to all these churches and he meets a heap of different people who have come to a church for the first time. And he interviews these different people at all these different churches. And he says, of all of the churches you could have chose to come to, why did you choose to come to this church? Good question. 7 out of 10. How many? 7 out of 10 people said they chose to come to this church because of the church website. I want to let that sink in. 7 out of 10 people made a decision as to what church they were going to go and visit because of the church website. There are people out there, if I showed you how many people a month in Adelaide search for the word church near me, you'd be shocked. Church near me. They're looking for a church to go to, and they search the words church near me. Does your church come up? I was actually impressed. If you go back to the first slide, I just put in there Para Vista Church. And if you scroll down, okay, so you're not the first one. You're the second one. That's you, right? Yeah? Praise the Lord. Interestingly, can you click on that website? Okay. Scroll down for me. And just do a little bit of a flick through the website. Have a look at some of the pages there. Okay. Worship service, join us at 10 a.m. Times are right, that's good. It's better than most churches. Some frequently asked questions, pretty good. Small groups. I like that, small groups at 11:30, that's what we call it, small groups. It's good. I'd ask the question, how many people search for small groups? Is there maybe a better word that we could use? Bible study? That's what it is, right? Sabbath school, it's just a Bible study. We have Bible studies every Saturday. We have Bible studies here at 11:30. Come and join us. When you look at this church website rather, you're searching for the first time. Go back to Google for a second. Put yourself in the shoes of the searcher. Right. So we come to the internet. We look up. Go to Google. We're going to search for Para Vista Church. That's because it's logged into my. Okay. Click on the first website. Okay. Well, they've got a course there. Get involved. You're always welcome here. About us. Yep. Okay. Not bad. Ministries. Got a list of their life groups and what they do for children, young adults, youth. Oh man, this church has got way more going on than that other church that we just saw. True? I'm just a new person looking at a website. That other church has got way more to offer. Which one are you going to choose? What's worse is if you go back to that other website, they're open on Saturday. Weirdos. Don't they know? Church is usually on Sunday, folks. Hello? True? At least that's what the average person's thinking when they come across your church website. So what do? Can you go to the fourth window for me? No, go to the next one again, this one. Okay. I'd propose to you today, and of course it's got to go through your church board and your business meeting and all that sort of stuff, but in South Australia, we've one of my roles is to build a template for our local churches, for our church websites. Can you do like a scroll for me? Just a little short scroll. Stop there. Scroll back to the top for me. Now, that's just with like a flick of a mouse, right? You do one little flick of the mouse that scrolls up. So scroll up. So Adelaide Church in the heart of the city. Scroll up for me. A welcoming Christian community in Adelaide City. Can you scroll up, please? So a family, yep, no, keep going. Just one scroll, an Adelaide Church. Okay, so this here will be it'll automatically pull in from YouTube. So any of the shorts that they've got, scroll up again. So the ministries that they've got as a church, as you can see, that one hasn't got an image, but that's all right. Just flick through those other, you see those cards there? We can flick through the different ministries that they've got there. These are just the featured ministries, so it won't, of course, have all of the ministries of the church. If you scroll down again, we'd love to have you visit. 28th of June. What's the Sabbath today? That's today. At 2 o'clock today, that'll actually change and it'll become the following Sabbath. It just automatically changes. And then see the video there? Why Saturday? Now, we're going to fix the background image and some other things, right? And if you click on that, it'll just open up a window, but there's no actual video there yet. But the idea is that when people come to our church website, they see when we're open, the first objection they've got in their mind is what? Why Saturday? So we want to have a video there to overcome that objection and to explain to people, and it's not going to be a polished video in a studio or something like that, not at all. We're going to get the kids of the church, we're going to get some young people, some old people, some males, some females, some Asians, some Africans, some people of all different cultures. We're going to put a camera in their face and we're going to ask them 3 questions. What does the Sabbath mean to you? Why Saturday? And what was the other one? Those 2. We'll start with those 2. If we need another one, we'll ask another one, right? But we just want to ask those questions and just capture people's answers. Just authentic explanations from just lay people as to this is why Saturday. And then we're going to chop them up and just get little snippets from each person and bring them all together, put some nice music in the background so that when people want to know why Saturday, they can see some familiar faces as to why you guys come here and gather together on a Saturday. Scroll down again. Excuse me. Just a little mission statement of the church, and if you scroll down again, this is quite a big screen. I think if you look at it on a normal computer, it'll be quite a bit more zoomed in than this. Just scroll once more, and then you've just got the footer there. Okay. And you can see this is like all just with a flick of a scroll. It's a very clean, modern-looking design. If you scroll up once, and then you've got the return to the top button. If you just click that return to the top button at the bottom. All right, and then we've got the menu there. If you click on the menu, and it opens up this nice full-screen menu with a plan a visit section there. And then all of the different ministries and stuff there. So let's say you go to worship. And then you've got, you can submit a prayer request. Click on the prayer request for an example. And then it'll take you to a page on prayer requests. Now, obviously, the image is just a placeholder image. And a lot of the content there, the forms aren't connected and things like this. But this gives you an idea of the sort of thing that we want to have for our churches. Now, I'm probably biased because I made it, but I think this is pretty good, right? Like if we've got websites that look like this, that are modern websites that say, hey, someone actually lives here, right? And we've got things happening here. And church, I'm sure in this church, there's plenty of exciting things happening. True? I reckon the kids are out the back having a great time. Can we just go back for a second? The thing that obviously, as a church, the church needs to decide that they want to use the tool. The way that it's going to work, so in this hero section here, this here is what's considered as featured events. So the first slide will be an automatic slide, but then there's another, you can't, this is not on WordPress, it's all like a custom designed website that AI's actually built. So I just tell AI what to do and AI writes all the code. Absolutely incredible what you can do these days. But the way the way this website will work is that there's another platform called Adventist Engine where you'll be able to log in. And do you have an events coordinator here as a church? Is there an events coordinator? No? You better get one. Someone needs to have the role of events coordinator, and their role is to go into the Adventist Engine at events.sa.adventistengine.com, and they will log into the events section, and they'll list any of the events that you've got upcoming, whether it's cooking demonstrations or Bible studies on a Wednesday or whatever the things are that you've got going on as a church. You want to list them all, and any of the ones that you make a featured event will show up here in the hero section. The other ones will show up on the page of that ministry. So if it's a children's, a youth Bible study, for an example, or maybe a youth group meeting, that will show up on the youth group page, and it will just automatically populate as an event on that particular page. The other things that we can, so a lot of the content will be static content. The other big opportunity here is blog posts, right? Now, what do I mean about blog posting? I've done the keyword research for thousands of queries that people are asking, and I want to tell you today that there are millions. How many? In Australia, there are millions of people every month searching for queries related to our spiritual beliefs. What we need to do as a church is create content that answers each one of those queries. I've done the keyword research. I've got literally thousands of questions there that you can write blog posts on. Anyone a good writer here? We've got one? We've got two. We've got two good writers. Who's not a good writer? Who says, no, that's definitely not my expertise? Excellent. Guess what? Me neither. But today you don't have to be a good writer. All you've got to know how to do is type in a question that someone else is asking and ask AI to do the writing for you. It's as simple as that. And I'll show you, I'll do some training with you guys. In fact, can we go back to the Bible study website? I think the third one. Click on the little chat thing in the corner there. And I just want you to ask the question, how old was Mary when she had Jesus? Didn't do it. Let's try a different one. Let's go another good one. Just ask it, why did Jesus die? You know, it's interesting when you ask, when you do a search in the Spirit of Prophecy, often there's some debate over the atonement, right? Like, what was it, the substitutionary atonement? Was it the appeasement? Was it appeasing the wrath of God? What was it? It's interesting if you go through here, you've got substitutionary sacrifice, scroll down a little bit. You've got the fulfillment of prophecy, keep going. Demonstrating God's love, that is the moral influence theory. Justice and mercy, opening the door to salvation, victory over sin and death. Ellen White actually has a complete view of salvation, right? It's not just one of those understandings, but she covers all of them in her explanations. This tool here on the Hope Bible Study Center, it's actually trained off of the Conflict of the Ages series. So we've given it the Conflict of the Ages series, and you can ask it any question. Now, if you were to go after that, say, I want you to write this as a 1,000-word blog post. Okay, and away it will go, and it will write for you the blog post. And we don't have time to read it all today, but there you go, you've got your blog post on that particular question. We've got thousands of questions that need to be answered. Now, what happens when you start answering questions on your website? If you go to the 5th one, the Bunbury Church there, So Bunbury Church is a church that I've been working with in Western Australia. If you scroll down a little bit on their homepage, this was the original. So when I first started, this was actually the template that we were going to use in South Australia. Do you prefer this one or do you prefer the other one, out of curiosity? Just keep scrolling down. Yeah, so you got that one there. And feel free to choose. You could use either one. I wouldn't mind either which way. So you can see here they've got these recent articles. And each one of these articles are based on the questions that people are actually asking. There's one guy, I'm going to tell you about Terry. Terry Preston is I won't say how old he is because it's being recorded. I don't actually know how old he is, and if I have a guess, I could offend him. He's a good guy, lovely guy, good friend of mine. But Terry is a man who often laughs to me, and he says, "Mate, God's got a sense of humour, hasn't he?" And I say, "Why is that, Terry?" He says, "Because who would have thought that God would be using me and you for this stuff?" Yep, I'd have to agree with him. Terry is someone who you would say is somewhat computer illiterate, right? Funnily enough, his occupation, he works in a kind of techie space with his work, but he has no idea what he's doing. He'll happily tell you he's got no idea what he's doing. He's just learning on the job, right, as he goes. But he's just someone who's willing to get in there and give it a go and learn on the job. That's all. And he says to me, "Mate, I must do your head in." I say, "No, it's awesome just to see someone who's willing to get in there and give it a go." Right? And that's all he does. He just gets in there and he makes mistakes and he breaks things and he rings me up and he says, "You're going to hate me. You better have a look. I think I broke something." And that's right. We jump in, we fix it up, and it's good to go again, right? If you go to the next little one across, I want you to have a look at this. So they've had that's in the last 12 months. Go to the last, okay, so in the last 12 months you can see that they've had 92,500 with 1,200 clicks through to their website. But if you go just to the last 3 months, because you can see there it's rapidly increasing. So if you go up to 3 months there and click on that. So just in the last 3 months of that 90,000 has come 80,000 of those and 756 of those clicks through to their website. They get, if you scroll down a little bit, you can see the actual questions, the sorts of things that people are asking. So yeah, there's Bunbury SDA Church, but there's also Bunbury Church. So they've had 9 people from their community who are, now is Bunbury Church, is that query, is that an Adventist query? Of course not. That's just someone who's searching for a church in Bunbury. And 9 people have come through to their website because they're, is it 9? Scroll back up again for a second. Yeah, 9 people have come through to their website looking for Bunbury Church. And there's, Bunbury Church isn't the only query there. If we were to keep scrolling through, you'll see like churches in Bunbury, church Bunbury, Bunbury Church, etc., etc. But you'll also see all of these other questions, and these are actual questions that people are asking. So things like, just go back to that last page for a second. You've got, was Jesus a Jew? Right, people that are searching for, was Jesus a Jew? They've come up 1,200 times. When people have searched that, put that into Google, 1,200 times their websites come up, and 3 times people have clicked through to their website. If you scroll down a little bit, go up, sorry. Keep going up. Let's have a look at some of these other ones. Look at this one here. How old was Mary when Jesus was born? And then the next one up from that, or the top one, was how old was Mary when she gave birth to Jesus? There's probably another 3 or 4 times a similar query to that is used, because this is the exact match of the query. 4,000, 1,000, all in all, they've probably had come up of those 80,000 times in the last 3 months. I would suggest probably 15,000 of those have been in relation to that particular question. So it's just finding those questions, just writing content to answer those questions. And then what happens? Well, if we go back to their website for a second, and then somebody clicks on, so click on God's Plan for Humanity will do. And then see at the top there, you've got a free offer. And then if you scroll down a little bit, you can actually click claim your offer. And Bunbury Church is getting about a Bible study a week of people from around the world who are requesting access to their Bible studies, and you fill out this form and they'll start sending you PDF Bible studies. Last week there was someone from Texas, funnily enough, who has come across one of those questions that they've written answers for, and that they've then reached out to the Bunbury Church. Now, some of the things that they come up for are what we would call local search queries. Others are just general queries, right? So things like, how old was Mary when she gave birth to Jesus? I mean, that's just a general question that people are asking. But in targeting those other questions that are just general questions, the more times you're doing that sort of stuff, it also says to Google, it doesn't only reach people and then give you the opportunity to then share your Bible studies with them, but when Google sees that your website is constantly posting these blog posts, when they compare your website to the other churches in Bunbury, and churches have got a website like the Vista Church, and no mock on the Vista Church's website, it's okay, but when they compare your church website to the Bunbury Church's website, if they're going to say, okay, there's two people in Vista that are looking for there's a person in Vista looking for a church, I've got 5 websites to show them, one of them's constantly getting blog posts on them, and it's got lots of content on there. One of them's got lots of content, but it hasn't changed in the last 7 years. One of them, it's constantly changing content, but there's not really much there. Which one do you think Google's going to send them to? The one that's constantly posting and has lots of content, right? Google wants to send people to the most relevant search query related to the thing they're searching for. And if you've got a busy and an active website that says, hey, we're open for business, this is what we do, you're asking questions about Jesus, yeah, we've got all the answers about Jesus, right? Just look on our website. Google says, that's the perfect one, I'm going to send them right there. So as a church, what we want to be doing is creating these digital front doors to our church that when people in your neighborhood are searching for a church, that they come across your church. When they're asking, when is your church open? And they see it's open on a Saturday, that you've got some video there to help overcome that objection and introduce them to the Sabbath. And if they do nothing more but come to your website because it's the first one that comes up and click on it, and they learn about the Sabbath for the first time, and then click off and go and find a church that's open on a Sunday, praise God! How many doors have you got to knock on to find someone that you can tell them about the Sabbath? Right? And now you've done it in a non-invasive way. They've probably clicked and they've seen that you're open on a Saturday and they've gone, Saturday? I wonder what that's about. I'm interested. Tell me more. Click. You go and knock on the door and try and lead them into a conversation where you can tell them about the Sabbath. Man, you ain't doing that on the first time you knock on their door. You got to wait until you build some trust and try and get the relationship going a little bit before you could even think about introducing such a topic. But now you've got people that are going to come and they're going to ask that question openly. It's a fascinating thing, right? When people come to a website or when people get on Google, they'll ask things that they'd never ask someone in public. Because no one's there. No one's going to know that I've asked it. Yes, we will. All right. The question that exists for us as a church here today is who's willing? Because ultimately, I can come here, I can tell you about it, I can present the opportunity to you. But unless we've got people in the local church that are willing to drive it, it's never going to happen. Are you willing? Is anyone willing to get on board? Could we? Of course, it's got to go through a church approval process. But is there a handful of people that would say, "Yeah, I'd be keen to help out"? We've got a few. Okay. Is someone taking note? Is someone maybe writing some names down or something there? I suggest that you have a meeting very soon and discuss with the local church about the opportunity to take on to capitalize on the website opportunity. Don't feel, of course, this is not like the conference doesn't own this website. You can change it however you want. You can put whatever you want on there within reason, of course. There's obviously boundaries as to what we can put on our church websites. Has to be related to church for a start. It's a good place to start. Has to be Adventist. But other than that, we're pretty flexible. You can add it and change it and do whatever you want with it. We just want to support you as a local church in helping you reach your community for Christ. It doesn't end with the website. The website is the first step. And the reason I say the website is the first step is because once we can use social media now, let me say, social media may reach more people. There's a different type of engagement though with social media. Let me explain. When someone gets on the internet and they go to Google, they're actively searching for something. They might be searching for a church in Vista. They might be asking, how old was Mary when she gave birth to Jesus? They're actively searching for an answer to a question, and the user intent is high. When someone's scrolling through their Facebook feed and a video pops up and says, here's 7 reasons why you need to know Jesus, or here's 7 things you didn't know about death, right? They might click on it because, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what that's all about. But the user intent just isn't really there. And there might be a free Bible study offer at the end of it, and they might even click and say, hey, Bible studies, that sounds like a great idea, and they might even click on it and register. But those that will actually follow through and do the Bible studies, the dropout rate is much higher when we use social media. First thing. The second thing is that we don't own the social media platforms. And if we can't get them off of social media and onto your website, and social media all of a sudden decides that you're not really a church, you're an impersonating church, and therefore we're going to block your church, and that happens, believe me. Ask the guys at Port Augusta. Port Augusta was probably one of our better churches. As far as their social media, they were doing a great job up there. And Facebook all of a sudden turned around and said, nah, you're not really the Port Augusta Seventh-day Adventist Church, you're an impersonator. We're going to disqualify your page due to impersonation. They appealed the process 3 times to an AI chatbot, and it said, nope, sorry, you're an impersonator, guaranteed, 100%, you definitely are not the Port Augusta Seventh-day Adventist Church, and they lost their page and all their followers. So social media, yes, it's effective, yes, it works, but we don't own it. And at any point in time, for any reason, we can get kicked off. So having a website that we can drive people back to and get people off of social media and onto our website has to be the first step. So the first thing that we want to do, and it takes time. I've been working with Bunbury Church. Thankfully, Bunbury Church was really good because it was a pilot. It gave us an opportunity to flush some of this stuff out and to work through some of the processes and what works and what doesn't work and these types of things, that we can now apply that to our churches here in South Australia. But it'll take time. We'll get the website up and going. We'll get the website with some content on there. Furthermore, we've got artificial intelligence now. So what we'll do is we'll actually take the template that we've got for Adelaide City, and I'll just say to it, rewrite all of the content on this website for Vista Seventh-day Adventist Church, and it'll go. And 10 minutes later, it'll all be rewritten. Absolutely mind-boggling. And we're still going to have to get in there and just edit stuff and optimize stuff and make sure it's all right the way that we want it to be. But we'll be able to get it happening much quicker than what we would have if we were doing this even 12 months ago. Okay, we're going to stop there, I think, for now, and we'll have something to eat. When we come back, I want to talk to you about social media and the opportunities that exist in the social media space, what that looks like and how we can do that as a church. That's really exciting, and there may be people who are saying, you know what, the website stuff, not really for me, but I'm a social media person. I like doing social media. And there's no reason why we can't start the social media now as well. So if that is you, please come back, and I want to share with you. I've got some prompts, and we'll use artificial intelligence. We're going to use sermon scripts, right? Like, one of the big challenges, and as I've spoken to different people who are passionate about social media and who have said, man, I want to use social media for my church. As I've discussed this with a few of the people around our conference, the young people, what I've actually found is that one of the greatest challenges that they find is, what am I going to create content about? You know, we've got one of the most published authors in all of the world. She's written more than almost anybody else. She's the most widely published female author. She's written more than any other woman in the world. You want to know what you can create content about? We've got no shortage of material. We just need to learn how to repurpose that material and how to use it. So if you want to come back afterwards, please, I'll show you some ways that we can do that and what that can look like, and how we can mass create content and really get busy putting content onto social media as well. Let's pray together. Should we say grace now as well, do we? Or, yeah? Okay, let's pray. Loving Father, Lord, I'm just so thankful, Lord, that we've got people here in this church, Lord, that are willing, that want to use their time, that they want to use their gifts and their talents. Or, Father, maybe they come to you saying, I don't even know how to do this, but Lord, I'm willing. Father, I know that what you need is not those who are capable. For, Lord, there's so many people in our churches that are capable, but simply aren't willing. But, Father, what you need is people that are willing to learn, willing to be led by you and by your Spirit. Father, we know that all around the world there are so many people. Lord, today's marketplace is the internet. If I was to ask the average person, are you familiar with marketplace? They wouldn't be thinking of, or are you familiar with the marketplace? They wouldn't be thinking of the market downtown. They wouldn't be thinking of the Sunday market. They'd be thinking of Facebook. Lord, I just pray that you help us as a church to be in the marketplace where the people are. Lord, Jesus he spent, I think it was 120 out of his 140 odd public appearances were in the marketplace. Lord, help us to be in the marketplaces, meeting people where they are, that we can share Jesus with people where they are, Lord, and invite them into an understanding, into a relationship with you, that they may hear the everlasting gospel, that they may fall in love with Jesus, and that they too may be ready for Jesus to come.